I've read over 60 personal development books and nothing changed for me. Why all this knowledge didn't lead me to transformation? That's the topic of today's episode. Welcome back to the Adventure Reignition Podcast. I'm really excited to have you here in nature with me today for this episode with the sun here, nature here, and a very special setup. So if you are listening on the podcast, I'm right now in nature. I woke up a bit earlier to make this episode come true, and that's something I want to do more, shooting in nature, especially podcast episode because I feel inspired to do this here. But today the topic of this episode is about personal development and reading personal development books. I really had a lot of love and hate relationship with personal development over the years, and I want to tell a bit of my journey with it and how you can use it in a smart way to make progress for you in your life. But first, I don't want to spit in the soup. Whether I criticize or not personal developments, I want to make you aware that what I do is personal development a lot. My services also include personal development, and I'm also passionate about personal development. I just think sometimes we get it wrong. I definitely did get it wrong in the past. I think personal developments in the terms you have personal, and that's something I want to showcase today in this episode. For me, personal development has never been a thing. The way for me to grow and evolve was through adventure. And traveling the world alone for a year in 2016 was my way to break the ceiling, the cage I felt I was in, to expose myself to new realities, new perspectives, and grow as a person. So when I quit my job in 2015 and ended my studies at the same time, I remember vividly that need to break the cage I was in. And for me, adventure and travel did that because in my first travel in 2011, when I went to live 6 months in the US, I really experienced that growth because of the fact that I was away from home for so long and I was exposing myself to new people, new realities, new environments. And that's how I like to grow, by challenging myself. And for me, I never heard about personal development or a personal development industry before 2016. I would say I started to hear it a little bit during my travel in 2016, and I started to first read books more about spirituality, but not more personal development books. I think the first personal development book I've read was Tony Robbins around the last quarter of my travel. And that's when I started to be exposed more and more in personal development. I was even looking for content and podcast on it when I came back from my travel, because when I came back from my travel, I really felt the pull back from my environments, society, however you want to call it, to, as they say, because I heard those phrases told by people around me, it's time to come back to reality. Traveling is not your real life. All those things that was forcing me to get back into the lane, per se. And I remember that for me, I really wanted to keep my spirits and mindset of adventure alive. So personal development was a way for me to keep that mindset alive. So I started a journey of podcast consumption, YouTube video consumption, and a lot of books consumption about the topic, I'd say around 2017 when I was 27. And I really enjoyed them. Honestly, I learned a lot of good things in those books. I was really inspired by them, by some of the topics. And from a period between 2017 to 2022, I was really strongly into this, reading a lot. consuming a lot of those contents. But I was also traveling at the same time, so I had the balance. But during the pandemic, that's when I really felt something was changing. By reading a lot and consuming a lot, it gives you that full sense of accomplishments and improvements. When you read personal development books, you feel inspired, you feel like you learn something, but it's only in your head because I wasn't applying the tools, the knowledge, and the exercises I was reading in those books or hearing on this podcast in the real life. So during the pandemic, where we were stuck inside, I consumed even more of those, and it led me to that information overwhelm, consumption overwhelm, where I felt a bit frustrated. And I think at the end of 2022, I really took distance with the whole industry. And I think, done a podcast here where I talked about it, reflected about it at the time, about what I felt and what I thought about this industry that felt sometimes, not sure if the right word, but sometimes like a mindset trap. And I kind of lost my way consuming all of that content because my way of growth, my way of learning was through adventure, through challenges, through real actions. And I kind of like let myself be distracted by all those contents and consuming it. And because it was giving me that false sense of improvement, I thought that I knew something better. And it really built my ego stronger than I would admit to. Because you think you know, so you talk from the head and then you kind of like give lessons about the knowledge you know, but you don't apply them yourself. So for me, it was really a hard time. So at the end of 2022 and in 2023, I kind of like distanced myself from that. Stopped reading, stopped listening to personal development podcasts and consuming content, and I reconnected back with my spirit of adventure. And that's why in 2023 I embarked on a journey to bikepack the 26 regions of Switzerland, and that's how I really felt the call back and the experience once again to reconnect with my intuition rather than the thoughts, influences, and content from other people online. And I could reconnect to my inner voice, my intuition, and my way of learning things through challenges, through adventure. But after some time distancing myself from the whole personal development industry, I realized it wasn't the personal development industry or the messages that were a problem. It was the way I was consuming the content. Because instead of reading a book and applying the content, I was going to the next book and to the next book and to the next book and to the next book without applying the thing. And at the end of the day, I realized that basically all those books have similar messages. They're just like turning different perspective through the eyes of the author, of the content creator, or the podcast. It's all about live with attention, be your best self, build your dream life. And those are messages I'm personally attracted to because I've been living this way through adventure for years. But that's when I realize, like in adventure, it's the balance between introspection and action that makes the thing very worth. And reading personal development books and content without applying the knowledge and the tools and the exercises is basically like reading a map thinking you climbed a mountain. By just looking at the map and reading the map, it doesn't mean you climb the mountain. And that's the same thing I experienced with personal development. I would read that book and I would think I know it all. And then it built my ego around that. But that's not the case. I learned through experiences. I learned through adventure. I learned through challenges. And yes, personal development is personal, and it's about introspecting and then action. And that's what I've been doing for all my life with adventure. And that's why I talk about personal development now, because I think I integrated that key components of adventure, balance between adventure action and introspection. And for me, introspection is huge because adventure, actually, for me, is the door for introspection. And then you introspect, you learn things about yourself, you observe yourself, your life, your thoughts, your feelings, and then you apply it back to your life for the next journey, the next adventure. And that's for me the key thing with personal development here. It's not the industry, the books, it's the way you consume it and apply the knowledge you get. And once I started to apply that new perspective on personal development, I started to feel like a beginner again, like motivation and drive was back again in my life and in what I was sharing as messages, as the content I'm creating. Because I really think it's an important part, but you should act on it. Really, you should challenge yourself, you should challenge your perspective, you should do the thing. And I see so many people that are reading a ton of books that don't apply them and then they still feel stuck. And that's why I created a coaching program to take out all the fluff of personal development, the grinding thing, the productive thing, and to really focus on getting to know yourself, to align with your values, your vision, your beliefs, your energy, who you are. And I think once you know that, and even if you're not fully clear on that, if you have 15-20% clarity on those, on yourself and on your values and your vision, it's time to start moving. And it's only by movement that things changes. And the introspection can happen for a time, but if you don't act on it, if you stay stuck in your fears, in your thoughts, in your feelings, nothing will ever change. And that's the key message here. This is not the industry the problem, this is us. This is the way we and you and I are applying the thing and consuming the thing. So focus on finding like the deep sense of who you are through your values, through your vision, through your passions, through your skills and your purpose. And once you find that, it's only a game of action. And that's for me the only thing that really matter about personal development, especially when it comes to do something that really excites you, that really makes you feel alive. That's the essential. And stop over consuming. Just find the right balance for you, act on it, make your dreams and vision come alive, and that's the most important thing. But I'd love to hear your thoughts about your journey with personal development. You can contact me on LinkedIn or Instagram. That's the best places to get in touch with me, and let's start a conversation. That was it for today. That was my takeaway on how reading and consuming personal development books and content won't change your life unless you act on it. Bye.